Hello and welcome to New York Comic Con's Metaverse event where we are breaking the fourth wall to bring you convention entertainment to the comfort of your own home. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, and it is my pleasure to bring to you Dominic Monaghan's Pet. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today is the star, Dominic Monaghan. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today, sir?
How's it going, Victor? I'm good, thanks.
Oh,
Good.
fantastic, fantastic. Obviously, 2020 is a crazy year. How are you holding up in the midst of all the things that are happening out there?
Well, I think for me, it's important to have perspective on what other people are going through. So for me, there is obviously a change in lifestyle in terms of not working right now,
Right.
not traveling, not moving around, not seeing my family and friends, but I am healthy, I'm well, and that's a lot better than so many people out there. So I'm doing okay.
Very well said. Very well said. To really kind of jump into this, we're here to talk about a movie that is so far from Lord of the Rings, it's not funny. So your fan base that would be coming from that is in for a rude awakening. Pets. Okay, let's talk about Pet like in the most sincere way. How did you get involved with this project?
So, Pet was a very interesting story for me. I was actually attached to Pet coming towards the end of season 2 of Lost, which is a long time ago.
Wow.
That's like 12 years ago, something like that.
Right.
And there was a writer's strike that occurred around about that time. So the movie got put on hold and it kind of disappeared. But I had always been tracking it because I loved the script so much. Fast forward to 12 years later, the project came back around and the producers had some concerns that the character that I was going to play, who initially was in his mid-20s, was now like me in his mid-30s. And I said to my agent, well, let me get on the phone with these people and let me pitch the fact that I felt it was even sadder that someone has spent even more time not really doing anything with their life, still thinking about their high school crush, still dreaming about the life that could have been. And from there, we shot it in downtown LA in like 19 days.
Wow, that's quick.
Experience. In terms of like the difference between the character that I play in Lord of the Rings and the character that I play in Pet, I've always been a big fan of trying to kind of jolt the audience into having them realize that I'm an actor. I can be good, I can be bad, I can be strange, I can be normal, you know. So it was a fun character for me to play because he is very different from me, you would hope.
I was gonna ask that question. Like, please, Lord, say that you are nothing like Seth in so many different ways. But at the same time, what's really interesting about this is that when we first are introduced to him, he's a very gentle soul. Like, you want to like him off rip. Are you an animal fan?
I'm a huge animal fan. You know, I had a nature show for 3 years, and I'm a big fan of animals. Obviously, he works in a dog shelter. I think the writing of the script was very was very astute. And I think the reason why they put him in a position of care is they want the audience to very quickly sympathize with him, because we soon learn that he is a little peculiar, that he is a little obsessive, that he probably behaves in ways that we wouldn't. But the fact that he looks after dogs makes most people think, oh, he's a nice guy. And I think with the character that I play, Seth, I think, not to say that he is a nice guy, because he does things that I think he's a little confused. I think he's a little lonely. He's a little desperate. He wants a perfect life. And he sees in the girl that he reacquaints himself with the chance for a perfect life. But unfortunately, it does not go that way.
Absolutely. I mean, this is very much so a psychological piece. Is that something that you really like to bring about in your work, is more cerebral conversations?
Yeah, I like thrillers. That's not to say that I don't like horrors. There are certain horrors that I think are exceptional. I mean, Let the Right One In is in my top 10 films of all time. Incredible film. Incredible.
Yes.
You know, there's great value in The Exorcist, in The Nightmare on Elm Street, in Halloween, in Friday the 13th. Horror isn't necessarily a film genre that I go towards, but I do enjoy thrillers. Things like Dead Calm, Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, you know, those type of like The Game, psychological thrillers. So even though there are elements that are scary in Pet, it's more that it affects your mind. It plays with, could you be in that situation? Could you find yourself making those awful decisions that Seth makes, and then later on that Holly makes.
Right. No, I think that was one of the best parts of it, was especially when things start to take that turn and you immediately start, drawing lines about Seth. But once, things start to get revealed about Holly, it becomes a very different cat and mouse game. And I think Thriller is a perfect way to describe this. When it comes to any other, sort of coupling in pop culture, it immediately drew a correlation to me between Harley Quinn and the Joker. Was that ever something that you guys talked about?
We didn't talk about Harley Quinn and the Joker, Ksenia and I. What we did talk about was this very specific shift in terms of who's in control, who's in charge, who is leading the scene, who is dominating. So obviously, without giving away any spoilers, there are large sections of the film in which Seth seems to be calling the shots and dictating what happens. But what we come to realize is actually it's a little bit like Ksenia is a spider with a fly. She's kind of luring him a little closer so that she can adopt her own agenda, So I like the shift in roles. I love strong female characters. I like male characters that might not fit into that classic male trope of, I'm the tough guy. I kill the bad guy. I save the damsel in distress. I like playing around with those ideas. The script was very tight, and it's a very tight film. It's only around about 90 minutes. It really drives the film. Very self-contained piece. It's a film that if someone were to come over to me in the street and talk to me about Lord of the Rings or talk to me about Star Wars or Lost or any of those things, and they say to me, what are you doing recently? Or what's a film that you've done that I might not know about? I always mention Pet because I think it's a little bit of a sleeper. And no one who I know that's seen it has not had a strong reaction to it.
Oh, absolutely. I just watched it again for the first time, and immediate, sort of visceral reaction of, oh my God, this is a new definition of a movie type for me. It's a creeper feature as opposed to creature feature.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
I'm going to use that now for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's a creeper feature because again, you get this sense of unease throughout the whole thing, and I think there's a interview. Director Carlos Torrance talked about the moral ambiguity that was trying to be portrayed. Is that something that you think really resonates well with this one? That you don't know exactly who is good and who is bad?
Yeah, I think that's a very strong thing that we tried to play around with, and Carlos did it very adeptly, kind of blurring the lines between, you make one decision, suddenly you find yourself on a path where you cannot deviate away from the path. You're out of control, and you don't know who's calling the shots and who isn't, the ideas between good and bad. I also think, the character that I play, Seth, is quite emotionally immature. It's clear that he's probably never had a girlfriend before.
Right.
He lives on his own. He doesn't seem to have any relationship with his parents or his co-workers. I think he's a little bit of a loner. That's fine. I mean, I have become much more of a loner as I've got older. But because of that, him attaching this idea that falling in love is going to be the answer, it's going to change his entire life. When he puts all of his eggs into that basket, which is falling in love, and specifically with Holly, you realize that he's bitten off way more than he can chew. And there's nothing he can do now. He's on a path where she's now calling the shots. And I love the fact that, again, without revealing too many spoilers, she is physically kind of encumbered by her position, but mentally and spiritually, she is dictating everything that goes on in that room.
That's the most brilliant aspect of it. The psychological, mind play for everybody is just absolutely brilliant. What were some of your favorite times to film in that little 19-day period?
Well, Ksenia and I became very, very close very quickly. She's a fantastic actor. She likes to do the work like me. She likes to talk about the role and rehearse and play as much as like Holly as she can.
Of course.
And we had a great time kind of playing around with a flirtatious cat and mouse thing off and on set where, she would kind of toy with me a little bit, both in the scene and off. I mean, she's clearly a very attractive girl, a very talented actor. So I think the scenes, again, I'm really conscious of this film being spoilerific.
Of course.
So I'll do my best. The scenes in the room where it's just Seth and Holly, and there's not a huge amount of other distractions going on apart from those guys getting into his obsession with her,
right,
and her trying to manipulate him. Very, very script heavy, very word heavy. Those are probably my favorites. I loved working with the dogs. I liked the scene in the cafe where, you know, it's so excruciating to see someone clearly not know how to approach a woman and make all of these heavy-handed
yes.
That was really fun. Anything with Ksenia was a blast for me.
Oh my gosh, the prep scenes of preparing for those conversations were like, they were on one hand, you know, they're delightful, but at the same time, you're right, it's cringeworthy because you're just like, this cannot go well. Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
And it's a little, I mean, Taxi Driver is a huge film for me, and I'm sure Taxi Driver is a massive film for so many people out there. There's the iconic moment in the mirror with De Niro where he's clearly psychologically having some issues, and he does the, you know, you talking to me moment. We did a moment in the mirror where I say to Carlos, look, you know, people are going to say this is us trying to Taxi Driver, and if that's the case, let's play with it. So instead of De Niro in the scene with Taxi Driver, where he's very clear about what he's doing in the mirror, you know, like, get away from me, I'm going to kill you. You've now got Seth kind of trying to do a chat up line, and he's unsure, and he's stuttering, and he's stammering. It's like, it's everything. He wants to be Travis Bickle. He wants to be self-assured and strong. But even him on his own, in front of his own reflection, he fails ultimately.
Oh my God. I'm sure so many people can relate to this. This will definitely be a conversation point when people see it. The beauty of this, though, is that this is not a new movie. It came out in 2016 and has kind of built a cult following. How does that make you feel that there are so many people rumbling about this feature, you know, again?
Yeah, you know, we live in a very, very changing time in terms of the mediums that actors work in. Television and film. You know, when I was a little kid, you would find out about a summer release, you get ready for it, you go see Indiana Jones, you go see the Goonies or Star Wars, and you'd be so excited, and that would be it. Nowadays, those type of experiences can be watched at home. You know, I mean, you can watch Mulan at home right now with your family. It's a completely different cinema going experience, and the same with television. You know, you can binge watch your entire show in one night. The thing with Pet was, you know, with it being a small budget film and with it being a little bit of a sleeper, we knew that what we just had to do was just put it out there, and the audience would do the work. They would tell people, oh my God, I saw this film last night. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be, you know, weird boy abducts girl, and it's the story about her escape. And it is nothing like that. You have
nothing at all.
so we were very keen just to film it, get it ready, put it out there, and let this fantastic word of mouth occur with the audience.
Oh, that's brilliant. Obviously, we have a little bit of time left, so I want to give you an opportunity to pitch some things that are coming up that we need to know about. Obviously, with 2020 having halted a lot of work, you know, maybe there's some projects that you can tell us about, some that you can't, but hopefully we've got some big things on the horizon that we're looking forward to. We want to know what those are.
Well, for years now, Billy Boyd and I, who I worked alongside in Lord of the Rings, have been trying to get a project going. And I am a huge fan of podcasts. And over the last couple of years or so, I've been pushing them towards Billy to say, look, I think this is a medium where we can do something. We're currently in a situation where we have recorded episode 1 and we've sent it to some podcast companies. And we're now trying to work out which is the most ideal podcast company for us to work with. But, you know, in terms of that, Billy Boyd and I have a great ability to sit around and talk nonsense. So the podcast is going to be two guys who you know from Lord of the Rings, who will mention Lord of the Rings here and there, essentially just talking nonsense for an hour and a half. So it's an opportunity for you to pour a cup of coffee, sit in the sun, turn your brain off for a while, and listen to the witterings of two buffoons.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear that. One last time for the fans, is there anything you want to leave everyone with?
Well, I think in terms of Pet, if you're not sure about watching a movie, you're like, I'm gonna roll the dice on a movie, take a little gamble. Pet is a tight 90 minutes, and it's a film that I think will surprise a lot of people. Well worth watching.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Thanks,
Total
Victor.
cosign. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you sincerely for sharing your time and your talent with us. Big shout out to New York Comic Con for bringing us together. Remember, Pet is available to watch right now on Amazon, both in the UK and the US. I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, saying thank you to all you fans. You guys have a great one.